Hello and welcome to another part of my Seraphim Coop mission making. I've done some more progress that I want to show you. The main part, of course, is that I finally found a name for my mission. This one is gonna be called Novak Station Assault. And let's just start it right away to see what's new there. Since it's quite a long time since the last video, I might not remember all the things I've put in meanwhile, but I'll try not to miss anything important. So we will start with the cinematic intro I have set up. I'm not sure if I showed it last time or not. And then some dialogues and objectives, because I'm pretty sure I've changed the objectives and that wasn't in the last video. So starting look on this one of the research station on the planet, UEF base to destroy. Yeah, some patrols. And finally the order mobile factories that will provide you units. Okay, so that so far works. You are given the units and objectives are assigned. Okay, so I'm gonna pause it here and go through what happened right now. So this unit arrived and player is giving the naval units and some of the air units, but if you're playing with someone else, then the air units are given to that someone. I can quickly search for it. It should be it's gonna be here together with the fleet. And yes, okay, so this is unloading all the air units from the carrier, and now the unit is given either to player or co-op 1 player army, and that depends on this global variable, which is use or the AI, and that should be set. Yeah, that's set over here. So table army, which you can find here, that's to find out what armies are currently in the game. Here are assigned colors, but you already know that. And now I check if there's a co-op 1 player. If well, if there's not co-op 1 player, if not, then the script will use the order AI later. But if there is one, so then the air units are given to co-op 1 player, and same pretty much happens later when the units are produced. It uses the same code. So if you're playing with someone, he's given air units and you have the naval units. So I'm not sure if I showed it in the last video, but there you go. What else happened here? Not sure if I showed. There is also sonar. Well, not here right now, because sonar is just for easier difficulties. I might be blind, so okay, I'm blind. So just on easy and medium difficulty. There's also our T3 mobile sonar arriving with the fleet. It is not given to the player. It just arrives to the location it should and stays there, which is somewhere over here together with the mobile factories. So that gives you pretty much, I guess, this range to see what's going on. Like, it's still annoying because of the jamming, so you need to scout those things, but it's still better than just having a radar and sonar on the cruiser. So if you don't like challenges, then you might also get the sonar. So that would be for the beginning. Now the two objectives are to destroy the research station and also all UEF units that are on the island. So research station, if we look here, just some normal complex, and this one is the research station with the code that is here. So spawning the research station, some name for it. I'm also setting a bit higher health than it has normally. Normally it's around 1000 or slightly above 1000, so I don't want it to die so easily. So this is easy way how to do that. And you also need to okay, so this is maximum health, and then you also need to set current health, else it would keep the same health, just the maximum would get increased. And this is for the all the other buildings and some walls to spawn with that. So that's that objective. Then you have destroy the island base. Okay, so can move this one, and so kill research station, some dialogue for that, and then depending if you already cleared the landing area or not, you get slightly different dialogue. We can look for it, which one it is. Okay, so if you didn't destroy it, it just tells you to also kill all the units on the island, and else just that it's been destroyed. Of course, all those dialogues that you see here are still gonna change a bit, since they don't sound very Seraphim-ish. I just put there something, so when someone decides to help me and translate them to more some more Seraphim, then it's gonna change later. So that's that one objective. Then we have this one, to clear the area, which actually, if you clear the area, that triggers the next part of the mission. And there are some checks for other objectives, but for that I'm gonna unpause the game for a bit. So the unit starts moving, and then there's some more dialogues. It's gonna be a professional mission with a lot of voice acting and everything. There is gonna be a research guy, you have commander or the commander, some Seraphim that is guiding you, QAI, pretty much everyone. So that was just some follow-up dialogue after the intro, and now we're waiting for this objective. So objective to tell that is to protect these two mobile factories, which is quite obvious since that's your only source of units. So if you lose one, not much happening yet, but if you lose both, then it will be a problem, and we will actually lose. I still have to set up some triggers, like if one of those gets damaged, then it will warn you that it's taking damage, or when one gets destroyed, and then the Seraphim guy is gonna shout at you that you're doing really bad job and it's gonna kick your ass. But that's for later. So for now I have this. I also set up the end if you lose them both, but I'm not gonna show that one now. So that is this objective, to protect them. I'm gonna pause it again. Let's move to that one. So this is the dialogue, and after 30 seconds it tells you to protect the carriers. So what's here interesting? Well, not too much. Of course, a table with 2 units. that you provide to the objective, and then a number required one. So if you have less than one, then it fails. So, and here, okay, so this might be more interesting that some of you didn't know. So this time when we adding a result callback, I'm gonna show it here as this one for reference as well. So we have function with one parameter result, and then we check like if result, which is either true or false, depending if it's if you manage to succeed in the objective or not. So normally just one parameter, but in this one you can use two and also a unit, and it returns the unit that got killed if you fail. So then I can work with the unit, and I have this function, I carries that, and what it does, if I move, where is it? Okay, it's here. So the function with one parameter, and it focuses on the unit, rotates the camera around it, and then ends the mission. So I can show this right away, what code you need to successfully end the mission. It's these few lines. So, end operation safety from Seraphim framework, OP and Z4, complete false, that means you didn't manage to do that, and then also all active objectives are marked as failed, and then you need this one as well, kill game. It's in different function since it is called even if you win, and it's end operation, and now there is a use this OP operation complete, so it is either passing false as we can see here, or true if you win, and that makes the difference, what tells the game if you succeeded or not. And also this one is responsible for showing you that pop-up, and that either operation failed or operation successful, and you can click OK or whatever it is. I don't remember now, but you know what I'm talking about. And this whole part got at some point put into Coop mode, which you can see I've commented out this line. So pretty much all this, and even with the dialogue, will be available to do in the Coop mod. So you will not need this code in every mission. You will just call a function from the scenario framework. But first I will need to fix it, and once I fix it, I will surely let you know and show you how it works and how to use it. So that's for now for this one. Let's get back here. So that's why this using also the unit as a parameter. And what else do we have? So you get this objective. Now we can continue, and as we can see here, it takes another 3 minutes to do something else, since I managed to add also a timer. So you can't take forever to finish in this first part, since I've heard some complaints that that's one of the reasons why some of the missions are not so good, that it just allows you to turtle and build up army forever, and then you can beat it easily. So this is why I'm adding a timer here as well. As you can see, this looks quite scary, but it's actually just a few frigates. I can show you. Not so scary anymore, 8 frigates. So let's speed this up to see what happens with the next objective. So units always get built, given to the player and put on patrol, just so they don't sit here just like that. Okay, so here we are. Now we get objective that experimental satellites are approaching our location and want to destroy us and say goodbye to us from this planet, and we get 20 minutes for that. So now, and QAI, a good guy, is telling us that he'll be able to make a virus and to disable those satellites, but it requires ACU on the planet, which we don't currently have. So this is how I managed to put in the timer in some nice way, rather than well, there's a timer, no reason why, just because. So satellites are approaching, since you're trying to destroy the research station when they are being developed, and well, research is almost done, well, kind of done, since the satellites are on the way, and you get 20 minutes, and that's of course also different for difficulties. So if you look at the code here, there is some check if this function is called from other part of the mission, since for debugging I'm just skipping that part completely, and so this doesn't show up in the next part, else it would not be needed. Now this is the dialogue that tells you what's going on. And actually the dialogue happens when the dialogue starts, the other part of the code could execute it as well. So if I wanted to be really professional, I would need to make another function and put all the code for this objective to a new function and call it after the dialogue is done, which would be done in this parameter instead of nil. That would be a callback function, but I did not want to really bother with that. I might actually do it later if I decide to, but I think for now it's more than enough. Okay, so this is the objective. First, in this variable I just put a table with 3 values in the minutes for each objective. So on easy difficulty, for each difficulty, so on easy difficulty you get 30 minutes for finishing that, 25 for medium, 20 for easy, and then just pick by the difficulty, since difficulty is a number 1, 2, 3. So timer objective, expire result is either failed or complete, I believe. Since I don't remember the second one, we can always have a look. Yeah, complete or failed, so it pretty much tells the objective what should happen if you run out of time. So, and in this time, yeah, so it's this will mean that the result we have in our callback function will be false. So if not result, then time runs out. And that's the other function here in endgame section that will end the game for us. And what it does, it spawns satellites. It opens them, since normally you would build the building for the satellites and it would launch them and do everything for you. But since I'm using just the satellites, I need to open them in the script, and then I attack with them. Then we switch into cinematics and some show off of the satellites approaching, and that's pretty much it. So I can show that I put those satellites quite close here, so they're starting off map. First I move the camera to the carriers because they need some time to get their elevation and open. It's like 5 seconds or so. So first I look at the carriers and then I focus on the satellites. I guess I could show you that. Let's see if I have it on some of my debug keys. No. Okay, so let's put it here. Time runs out. Save it. Need to restart again for that, but this time we're gonna skip the beginning, so let's do that, and do that, so we don't need to watch the intro again. I have it on Shift F4, so just to look at it again, simple spawning the satellites as a group, then 2 satellites are attacking carrier, 3 are attacking Tempest. I look at the carriers, then I'm tracking down the satellite, and when it arrives and start firing, which is about 11 seconds, then I manually kill the carrier and Tempest, since it has much more HP and we don't want to wait for that forever. So this just took a few tries to get the timing right and set it correctly. Okay, let's just get through these dialogues so nothing screws up. Let's disable that and let's try if it works. Okay, something screwed up. Wait for... okay, that didn't work. Okay, I know how to fix this one. So let's put it like this. Thread function. Or actually, just like this could be enough, since this is the function itself. So now I have to restart the whole game. Okay, so what happened is that I'm using wait seconds, and that can't be used in the main flow of the script. So to avoid that, there's a function called fork thread, which pretty much fakes a new thread in a Lua, so it tells the game that everything in this function should happen at the same time as the flow of the script continues, and you can use it as many times as you want, one inside another. And the reason why normally it works is that it is in timer objective, which means for counting time it pretty much spawns a new thread using that function, but it's like fake thread since it's still running on a simulation thread of the game. But since it's calling it from already that, then it works. So this should solve the issue, hopefully, to demonstrate you how it looks. Okay, let's speed through the beginning again and all the dialogues. Yeah, because right now those dialogues are marked as important, so it will show them all. Else, and important dialogue, it's pretty much this parameter too. Else, if you don't put it there and there's some important dialogue in a queue, it will be played first. And there's also function to remove the queued up dialogues if you have one that really needs to be played. I'll show that later, but for now I'll just wait a few seconds and let's try it now. So no error in the log, so might get better. So this is the time for the satellites to open. So when the camera moves to them, they are already in the elevation and nicely open. Okay, and now the script kills those two mobile factories, because else it would take much longer for the satellites. And that's pretty much it. Operation failed. So, well, that's one way to end the mission. But I guess you won't see this too often, because I never really had issues to finish it in time in those 20 minutes. So if you choose lower difficulty, then it's gonna get even easier with less attacks, less units, and more time for everything, and actually more units for you, less just for the AI. So we covered end of the mission if you lose. So if you don't know what these are, you can send this function on Ctrl F3, and then in game if you press that key combination, it will execute the code inside, because these are default debug keys assigned, so you don't need to care in game about those. Okay, let's start the game again. So we have the timer objective covered, and next thing we have here can show is reminders. Nothing too crazy about those, just a function in a scenario framework, create timer trigger. So after a certain time, which is here, it will call this function. And I'm using different numbers here since there's a different time for each difficulty, but it will turn you 10 minutes before the timer runs out. And we're slowly getting to pretty much the most interesting part, what I've discovered so far. I can show the reminders. They are here. So check, this is the objective of the reminder. So M1 primary 3. So check if it's active, because if it's currently running, then it's marked as active, and this is marked true, else it's false. So this is simple check. And then dialog, as you can see, there's not nil and true, which second parameter is the callback function, and this is critical, which means it's important. So reminder not really important. So and timer for another one, so it tells you 10 minutes before the time runs out, 5 minutes, 1 minute, 3 simple reminders. And you can set those for any objective you want, pretty much the same way, just create timer trigger, callback function, and time. So that's that, and now we have the interesting part, which is here it's called gating AC button, and it takes 6 minutes in game to show, so let's speed up. Yeah, else pretty much everything you saw. Some patrols, a bit random, producing units. I might later tune up what units the AI produce, since it's mostly frigates, and later it is frigates and destroyer, and some air units. Okay, so this is the timer. And I believe now it's 60 minutes. I could have changed it, but we can wait. So I guess meanwhile I'll just tell you that secret. So I've decided that you can actually skip after a few minutes this first part, since the objective is to clear this area so you can get in your ACU. But if you feel confident enough and you think you destroyed already enough, there's gonna be a button that will allow you to get in immediately. So pretty much a button for speedrunners or someone who wants to have some early ACU fight against this base. And what I'm using for that is this pink group, which you can find in a FA campaign. For example, in first mission, when you're evacuating those civilian trucks, you have a button here, and where you click on the map, the trucks will move there. Same is in fifth mission, where you controlling Brackman's megalith with that. And I use this same thing for my button. And how it works, ping groups, so you need to import these ping groups at the beginning of your script, then you can use it. So function at ping group, this is name of it, this is icon it should show on it, and this is type. There are 3 types, I believe, something like attack, move, and assist. This will be later on the wiki, so just mention there are 3 types. And if you don't specify, okay, so there it is. Looks like this one, gate in ACU, signal that you're ready to gate in. So if you don't put ID of the unit here, it will just use, depending on the type, its icon, so might just show move order here, whatever. And how it works, which is the interesting part on it, is this one. When you click the button and click anywhere on the map, and now it asks you if you are sure, and it might not look that important, but what this does, it is allowing in a mission to put player's input, what he wants to do. So we can also make missions that are not gonna be linear, so player will be given choice what he wants to do. If he wants to go that way or that way, destroy that thing, capture it, or if he wants to ally with that army or that army. And depending on that, those missions can be much more interesting. And I guess many of you remember that when you played the campaign, you had to do one mission after another. So first you had to finish the first mission with your faction, so it unlocked the faction for the other mission. And pretty much the similar way, we can save the choices you made in the one mission and then use them in another one. So might be much more interesting missions. and your choices can transfer to another one. So that's pretty much the biggest discovery I've done with this one. And now to how it works, it's actually quite simple. There's a function create dialog, which creates a dialog. It is imported somewhere in SimSync, which since what you see here with the button, this is a UI code, so that's in UI lab, but in a script we are in Sim, and it needs to synchronize, and I'm not exactly sure how it works, but after a few hours of digging and trying, I managed to get it working, and once I know more about it, I can tell you how it works, show you what can be done here. But this was pretty much ready for use. I just had to do a few small changes. So this is the button, and so first parameter is the title, what is displayed. Then you have table with the buttons and what should be on the buttons. I think you can put pretty much unlimited number there, or also no button at all to just show something. And normally they can be also a third parameter, and that is position of it, and it can be either left, right, or center. Center is default, so that's why I don't have anything there. And then I just had to change this on button pressed, which is a function of this dialog, because when it creates the dialog, it creates a whole table, and inside the table there are some functions like this one, which take care of what happens if you press it. You can also add some things to it, rename it if you want on the fly, but that's not really important for this one. So what we need is just what happens when the button is pressed, without any changes to the FA code. Only thing I found is that if you press the button, it returned a table with 3 values. First was the ID of the dialog, so that was this whole dialog with all the information. The second thing was ID of the button you pressed, which is pretty much the only thing we're using and we need to know, since it's in the same order as this one. So if you press first button, then this happens. If you have press second button, then this happens. So it's actually quite easy to use. And only thing just that I had to also add is to destroy the dialog no matter what you click, else it would just stay there forever. But that's not really an issue, that's 2 simple lines. I mean, this one is for the dialog. This destroy pin group, which means if you want to proceed, then this icon disappears as well, since you already use it. And that's pretty much the most interesting part of this. Now I guess I can show you what happens if you press it too early. The game is not really warning you yet, and maybe it's not gonna at all, so you can do it right away. The AI will have a little problems with the UEF base in the way, since it just starts building as it's scripted. Player, I guess, will do a better job. So there we are, another part of the mission, easily. And I've added some titans here, since else you could just click it right away, since the ACU is T3. You also have support commander, so need to make sure that if you use it too early, you're gonna get killed here. So some PDs will be needed here, like 41 PDs next to these walls that will try to kill you. Maybe some mobile missile launchers as well. So if you click it too early, you will not survive it. Because right now you can see that even the AI is still living. At least it built a PD. Else it would start normally with the max and then factory. So still few things to solve. Maybe I will disable the button if you're playing alone, because that might be the easiest solution for this. Since the AI is not handling it really well. And okay, so another part I can show you. Okay, let's restart this one. Yeah, is the intro of the next one, and see what's going on there. I just started working on it a few hours ago. It's not fully finished yet, but I pretty much already have the idea what should happen next. Okay, so we don't need these anymore. Now we're moving to this part. Okay, let's quickly speed through this one to get protect objective, then we can skip after dialogue is over. So I'm not sure if I showed this, nothing too crazy. So moving the carriers on location, also the sonar, of course, if it lives, then this check if it should use the AI or the player. So spawning the AI. Once the carrier arrives, patrol with any units that are inside. Okay, but let's just have a look on this one. So you've gated in successfully, and QA is uploading the virus. Some warning about the incoming attack from UAF and Cyber. And this looks scary. Satellites approaching your location. So far just the cyber attack is kinda done. Few units, nothing major. I'm gonna destroy them, so they don't annoy us. But what I found interesting is this part, since also the first time someone used this, so some instead of just assigning objective and kill something, you need to wait a bit for the satellites to arrive. So meanwhile you can finish this objective from the first part to destroy the research station. And once they get close enough, QAI is here to save the situation, uploaded the virus and destroying the satellites. So that's gonna be intro and post intro for the next part of the mission. You will dodge the death. I might even let them come closer, so it looks more scary. If you're playing it first time and you don't know about it, why not? And then just hope that those turtle players, casual players, campaign players, will actually notice those satellites before they are killed. Hopefully they're just not gonna look at the ACU and start building stuff. So there are some warnings showing up in log, but it's normal because when I kill the satellite, and the satellite script also tried to kill the command center it belongs to, but because it doesn't belong to any, it's spawning these warnings, but they're not breaking anything, so no need to worry about those. And this part I showed it, AI already building the base, and you have T3 and support commander. One thing I need to finish is warping effect on the support ACU, since it's set only on ACUs. So I will need to do that for I think I will do that just for all as ACUs, so it can be used by anyone in the future, because it needs to be set individually for each. So that is so far this part of the mission. Last time I also talked about those random events and random bases, and I worked a bit on those. So let's move at the beginning, and they are all placed in this one table called operation scenarios. Then there inside there is a table for each mission, so it's gonna be 3 missions in this operation, and inside of each mission you can specify events that can happen. So during the first one I have riptide attack and submarine attack, then a delay for the 3 difficulties. The functions for those, there's like a callback function which refers to function in the script, which is this one. So just normal spawning platoon, putting on patrol, and then I'm picking again after 3 minutes. So it will pick again if riptides or submarines will arrive. Same for submarines, just putting them, well, those submarines are actually moving closer and then attacking the carrier. So I guess I will, one thing I need to do, I guess I can put it here, to attack Tempest if carrier is dead. Okay, not that one, here. So off-map attack, there are quite a few submarines, and if you're actually not paying attention to that and they surprise you, they are able to kill the carrier if there are some units from the AI next to the Tempest. Normally the Tempest is to kill all the submarines with torpedoes in time, but if you have all your units somewhere fighting and you don't really care about a few frigates and destroyer arriving to your Tempest and carrier, because the Tempest can normally kill those things with torpedoes and just taking minimum damage with those HP. But if at the same time those submarines arrive, they will kill the carrier. Riptides, there's not that many riptides, so usually few units can handle that. But again, if you don't have anything there and the Tempest didn't produce enough units yet, it is enough riptides to damage Tempest a lot. I might later set up some torpedo bomber snipes from this base as well if needed, to make the player at least a bit to pay attention to those units and actually protect them, because right now they can take care of themselves pretty much, even when the Tempest does not have the gun. And last time I showed you the bases, if I remember, that there are different ones and all those possible attacks. So let's get back to the script. So it's picking, you can see that each event is in its own table. And same pretty much for base. This is one base. It has callback function and available types, again in a table. And code for that looks like this. I've set up some example table, and eventually I might add this to Coop or in the game patch once I'm happy with that, if someone else wants to use that as well. So far I have it in just a different file in my mission. So for choosing random base, we have this function. So it looks for the table operation scenarios, this one. Then inside the table, depending on the mission number, so M1, 2, 3 and so on, and inside for table bases. So there's this first line will in first mission and it would fail because there are no bases, but in the second part it's gonna load this table. So now some checks that will tell you what you missed if you use it wrong. And now it's gonna go through all the bases and randomly pick one type and call the callback function with the type. So it will take this base, look at the types, pick one, and then call this function with and send the type as a parameter. So this called some additional units I've added depending on the type. So if we look here, if the type is naval, there are some more naval patrols around the base. If it's air, then there are some air patrols around the base. For the other types, nothing happens in this function, since I have just if naval and else if, no else here. That would do if the type was something else. And then of course just from the AI file it's initiate the base. I think I showed that last time, but I guess I can do it again. So yeah, I was showing this. Depending on which one it chooses, then it spawns a different base. Okay, so that would be bases. And pretty much similar thing for event callback function here as well, and but this one just uses delay, and I made it a bit more complicated. Well, not too complicated, it's easy to use right now. So this is choosing the events against loading the event into data. Here it saves the number of the current mission, which is important later. Now this is the function to actually pick the event. It's called from here. So what it does, it looks at all the events and checks which one were not used yet. So at the beginning it picks all of them. Then it picks the one randomly and mark it as used, and then returns it, so it can be used later. If they are all used, then it resets the use value on all of them, and it picks again. And so what it once it has the event, it calls this other function start event, and it is in fork thread since we're using delay. And as I said earlier, that's what we need to use if we're using wait seconds. So what the other thing does, if it is set to use delay, which is the first parameter of the function, then it looks either you can set your own delay when you're calling this choose random event function. So it uses that, and if it's not set, then it uses the delay from the table. And then depending of course on the difficulty, if it's stable, then it picks on the difficulty this one, second one, third one, waits that time, and this is where we're using the number which was the mission number when this function was called, because while it waits we can get to another part of the mission, and then we don't really want those events to happen. So for example, in the first part there are those submarines and riptides, but if you are already in the other part, then those units will just spawn out of nowhere and try to attack somewhere at the bottom, and that's not really needed. So it checks if the current mission number is the same to the one we saved here, here. If not, then it doesn't do anything, just returns, and else it calls the event and starts it. Okay, and that would be for these random events. I might still change it a bit, improve it later, or what more, depending on what I need to do with that, since I've already changed it a few times while making the mission. And I guess this should be pretty much all I have so far. Now I'm continuing with the mission and trying to figure out how to continue, since we have those nice satellites that are being killed by the virus, and now I need to decide what happens next. Then I need to of course set up attacks on this base. I think I'm not gonna waste too much time in this part and move quickly to the other part where it's gonna be destroying the main research facilities, which will be on these two islands with a lot of satellites flying around. And since this is quite a big island, I think I can fit even like 20 or so. Most of them will be just patrolling over the base. Some of them will be patrolling in these locations and attack pretty much anything that gets close, and really few, like one or two, will actually go to your base and be really annoying, but that's still a future. And I guess that's gonna be pretty much all for this video. I might release the playable version of the mission of this video as well. If so, it's gonna be in the video description, and you will find it on forums where everything will be explained, what you need to do, how to play it, and also mention what's done there and whatnot. And see you in other part once I gather again enough interesting things to show you.